Best days are ahead. That's what Frank Hayes still believes.
Opening tip bounces around a few times before SMU finally controlling it. Franklin Agunane getting his first start of the season, only his 5th appearance. He gets the start at the 5 tonight for SMU. They're without Isaiah J.C. Tulsa without Curtis Haywood. Both of those guys big defensive impacts especially, and right out of the gate, triple knocked down by Zach Nuttall, one of the newcomers from Sam Houston. So we look at the starting lineup for Tulsa. Pushing Davis. Bandamel off the mark for 3. Tulsa wants to try to keep the ball in front of them tonight. Not an easy thing to do, but if you let Davis penetrate, especially in transition, it's a lot of trouble.
And that's 2 looks already for Tulsa at the rim, and you don't get the conversion. And it allows SMU to get out and run. And even if they don't get anything in transition, you'll notice tonight, they push it so hard, particularly with Davis at the point, that they get defenses flat, and then they're able to go right from transition into their half-court offense with pretty good flow.
Shot clock winding down. Smith for 3. Here's the freshman, Pritchard. Really provided a lot of stability for Tulsa at the point guard position.
Yeah, really has tremendous composure. Local product at Tulsa Webster. Explosive, gets to the rim, but I love how slow the game is already for Pritchard. 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, so he's already being careful with the ball.
Jariah Horn gets the first basket for Tulsa. The Golden Hurricane possess one of the best 1-2 scoring punches in the league, with Sam Griffin and Jariah Horn.
Well, that's the thing with Horn, is he's basically a stretch 4 and 5, depending on what lineup Frank Hayes has in the ballgame. And so he can move him all around the floor offensively, inside the arc and certainly from long range.
Agunane gets the offensive rebound, and it's second chance points. Zach Nuttall dropping in his second 3 of the game. The senior who was the leading scorer and the Southland Player of the Year at Sam Houston a season ago. He has fit right in with this SMU team.
And Agunane making an impact immediately. That's exactly what you want him to do. And with those offensive rebounds, that natural broken floor, you're able to find Nuttall for a second 3-point make.
Nuttall gets the rebound and gets fouled by Tulsa's Darian Jackson. So mentioning that both of these teams playing a bit shorthanded here tonight, but for Tulsa, the transition defense has got to be there.
Yeah, SMU again so great in transition with their spacing and Davis leading that. And shot selection plays into transition defense, Josh, because you take quick bad shots, they can get out and run. And then conversely for SMU, defensive board play is big. Here tonight, no question about that.
Nuttall, same spot. Different result, though. Nearly getting the tip in was Bandamel. Offensive rebounds proving costly here early. Falling away, Davis. He has got an unlimited bag of tricks when it comes to creating his own shot.
Yeah, and again, we just talked about it, 3-level score. There's a lot of guys in college basketball now that are great at getting the rim or even taking the long-range shot. But even when the help comes over like it did right there in the paint, Davis, as quick as he is, knows how to play under control, and he's going to get something positive. It's just a smart play by an elite offensive guy right there.
Thrown away, Gallagher trying to find Pritchard in the corner. And Tulsa off to a sluggish start here offensively. This Tulsa team, winners of their last 2 games. And they, of course, didn't want to see the cancellations. As you mentioned, it would have been 2 very good tests against North Texas and a very good Colorado State team who has turned some heads earlier in the season. But Tulsa, a winner 83-62 over Alcorn State and 69-65 here on their home floor over Southern Illinois as well. Those, their last 2 results. They really felt like they were starting to find something 9-10 games into the season.
Yeah, no question, starting to play better, particularly on the defensive end. And that's first and foremost with Frank Hayes' teams. Again, whether they're in zone or man, because they can play both. It's still a work in progress, but definitely improvement at the defensive end of the floor.
Tip-in is there for Idowu. Ray Idowu, the veteran for Tulsa, who goes 6'9". They want to see him be more fierce inside, Frank Haith told me today. He can score. They just need to see the aggression inside, and he crashes the offensive glass. Fall away for Davis. Horn, one of the best rebounders in the league, will push in transition.
That's the thing with Tulsa. When you have Horn at the 5, he can lead a break. Kevin Stallings, Gene Ibe, it goes on. And that's part of the reason, in addition to his own abilities, he's been so successful. He's doing a great job at SMU over his last 6 years. And I'll be honest, I mean, this team's got a chance to be really, really good. I mean, they have some things that they've got to correct and get a little bit better at. Probably this end of the floor is one of them, but obviously I've got high affinity for Tim Jankovic.
2017 Conference Coach of the Year, leading the Mustangs to a conference tournament title. Idowu inside for Tulsa. He's got it, and Tulsa happy to see that. They want to get him going offensively, and he's good. Spinning to his right and going over with that left shoulder. Yeah,
Idowu really has done a good job lately getting position. He's just struggled finishing inside. He's at a career low 46% from the floor, but they want him to continue to work hard and get that position. Obviously right there, he was isolated defensively.
Tulsa a little bit slow out of the gate offensively, but settling in now. Embry Simpson, the shot clock winding down. Griffin has been feeling it from downtown lately. Nuttall with the rebound for SMU. This Mustangs team brought in a who's who list of transfers. Lots of guys who led their previous teams in scoring, including that man, Zach Nuttall, the senior from Bryan, Texas. He was quick to say, though, when he announced he was transferring to SMU, quick to say that he just wanted to play the role that was best helping them. He didn't transfer here to come and try to score 19 or 20 a game.
And he's playing a little bit differently here, meaning he's more of a spot-up shooter, and he needs to be, because you have the ball in Davis's hands, and with the shooting of Nuttall and Van Dumel, you can space. But he has other abilities as well, really a natural scorer, but here, more of a spot-up three-point shooter.
Pritchard has been more prone to dishing out the helpers this year, but he can hit the three. Hasn't shown it in the numbers, but hasn't taken a lot. A big one there for Tulsa, and the second chance points paying dividends here for the Golden Hurricane as they take the lead for the first time. Foul inside against Pritchard. Third team foul against Tulsa. SMU yet to pick up a personal. Horn, rather, called for the reach. It's Tristan Clark into the game. The transfer from Baylor sat out a year. One of the great stories of overcoming adversity in college basketball and anywhere, really. Tulsa gets the takeaway.
Well, Tulsa, for a team that doesn't press, and they can pick up sometimes and do that, they really do a good job of turning you over. And it's typically when they're being sound on the defensive end, meaning keeping everybody in front. And that last possession was a great example of that. And here's Embry Simpson, who I think is big tonight. I mean, he's a guy that is talented offensively, has not gotten going so far this year. Originally signed with Arkansas at a high school out of Oklahoma City area. And Josh, with Curtis Haywood being out, who's really a key piece, kind of a guy that holds the ship together with all the quality things he does on the floor. Embry Simpson's could be a big key tonight, and he has looked aggressive to me here early on offensively.
Pritchard. Shot clock winding down on Tulsa, and it's an offensive foul against Horn, and that is big trouble for the Golden Hurricane as Jariah Horn picks up another.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Horn doesn't need to do this, and see him extend that elbow just a little bit. That's what got him in trouble. And Davis, obviously we've talked about him offensively, but he's really intelligent on the ball, whether it's out the perimeter or right there. He was square and got himself out of a tough spot right there by drawing that charge on Horn.
See Horn sit for a while, maybe the remainder of the half, but at least the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it's for the half, unless Tulsa can really get it going offensively.
Falling away, Davis didn't hit the rim.
Earlier, Sam Griffin, Jariah Horn, both top 7 in the American Conference in scoring, but they've got to get a little bit more out of guys. You see the JUCO transfer Tim Dowger starting to figure it out. He's got the basketball right here. He's starting to come on. Curtis Haywood, not here tonight, but he's been playing well. And I'll be honest, if you get Lace Darius Drain and or Keyshawn Embry-Simpson going a little bit, now all of a sudden I think it changes the dynamics of this team, and that's what Frank Haith is hoping, because you got a lot of other guys with the potential to make shots and play off of those 2 leading scorers. And in terms of right now, tonight, you know, it'd be nice to have that happen, because remember, you have Jariah Horn over there on the bench right now for Tulsa with those 2 fouls. So Frank Haith's going to have to manage that and feel his way through this first half of how he's going to use or not use Horn.
Idowu getting in the passing lane. Embry-Simpson on the fast break. There he is. Keyshawn Embry-Simpson.
It's also one of the things we talked about important for them was transition defense against SMU, but also they felt like they could be opportunistic and push it against SMU. They didn't feel like they were great themselves at getting back in transition, and that was an opportunity right there.
Foul against Tulsa. Latavius Drain.
Here's that last possession. Again, Tulsa, when they keep things in front, they turn you over. That was what they did right there. Nice job of advancing it up the floor quickly, and there's Embry-Simpson laying it in for easy transition points.
Here's Michael Weathers to the foul line. Transferred in from Texas Southern. Weathers led Texas Southern to the NCAA tournament a year ago. It was the SWAC newcomer of the year. They won their NCAA tournament first 4 game. Averaged 16.5 points per contest a year ago, and that's obviously something you look at on paper and say, how are you going to manage all those guys that can score? Not just him, but his brother, Marcus Weathers, his twin brother, I might add. And we already talked about Zach Nuttall. But everybody has been more than willing to take a backseat.
Well, why it's working is everybody's being unselfish. You know, there's enough success individually if your team does well. And that's one thing Tim Jankovic said. I mean, you never know with the transfer portal when you bring in new guys how it's going to work. But the leg up that SMU had was you had one of the best point guards in the entire country in Kendrick Davis. And you want to play with somebody like that. And not all the Weathers brothers, you know, Tristan Clark, I followed him a lot, being in the Big 12 as much as I am when he's at Baylor. Great young man, and so that only works when you have unselfish guys. And they've done a terrific job so far, meshing quickly.
Anthony Pritchard on the jumper. He's hit 2 early shots.
You know, it's interesting, we talked about Pritchard earlier. Most freshmen, you have to slow them down. Frank Haith is trying to speed up Pritchard a little bit. There's a lot more offensive potential in there than they've seen. And we've seen him knock down a 3 and now make a mid-range.
Bandamel for 3.
Again, with Bandamel and Nuttall out there with Davis, you can flat out space the floor, and then you throw athletes in there like the Weathers, and you got something offensive.
Speaking of offense, Latavius Drain, who's been a sharpshooter his entire career, they'd like to get him going from outside as well, as Davis attacks and draws the foul.
Yeah, Drain is a guy, now listen to this, the transfer from Southern Miss, I mean, he made 220 of these while at Southern Miss. He just hasn't gotten going yet. That's huge, and I've seen it ton. You get a guy like that with that ability, that pedigree, that resume, get one or two going, you know, then all of a sudden they take off and they don't look back. The thing with Drain is he hasn't been as sharp defensively as Tulsa and the staff would like. And again, Frank Hay, Tim Jankovic, same way. You got to guard, and he's starting to do that a little bit more. Played 11 minutes against Alcorn State, and then without Haywood tonight, he's going to get an opportunity. But you got to play both ends. But they'd love to get him going because he can flat out shoot it.
Somebody else getting an opportunity tonight, making his collegiate debut, Sterling Gaston Chapman for Tulsa. Wears number 3 for the Golden Hurricane. Top of your screen, and 1 for Griffin.
All right, this is significant for many reasons. One of the things Griffin needed to do to elevate his game is get downhill, create contact, and get to the foul line. And the last 2 basketball games, Josh, he has done just that. He's been there 11 times. It's interesting, the previous 3 games, prior to that, he did not go once. So you get a guy in Griffin who can shoot it and handle it and get downhill, and Tulsa's going to be in business.
Vandemel, second 3 in a couple of minutes off the touch pass from Weathers. It all started with Davis getting inside.
Yeah, exactly. That's a hockey assist. Draw help, get the ball moving, and SMU shares it so well. It's a wide open look to an excellent 3-point shooter.
Gallagher left it a bit short. Davis, step back. 2 more for Kendrick Davis. He's got 8.
That was a great job by Pritchard, the freshman, keeping him in front. Didn't let him turn the corner and contest it. But that's just a stud going over the top and making a jump.
There's Griffin for 2 more. In the lane, floater for Michael Weathers.
Again, SMU makes and misses so good at pushing. You see it right there. See what I'm talking about? They flatten you out defensively. They get you deep. You've got to pick up the ball high so that you can keep a guy like Weathers and Davis from getting to the paint so easily.
Foul against Tulsa. SMU is already in the bonus.
Yeah, this is off a make. See that right there? I mean, just the tax. Sterling back on his heels. And there's the athleticism of Weathers. Got a great first step. And the good thing about Weathers, he knows who he is. Doesn't take a lot of threes and looks to get downhill first.
Marcus Weathers to the free throw line. He and his twin brother Michael out of Roland Park, Kansas. Front end of the 1-and-1, good for Marcus. But they both went to Miami of Ohio for 1 season, and it was kind of a package deal. Michael had more of the recruiting eyes, but they wanted to stay together and did so. Then they wanted to learn to grow on their own and be their own players. So they went their separate ways and reunited this year for their final year of college basketball.
Which is really cool, I think. So I'm sure that was not an easy decision to separate and go to different places. When Michael went to Oklahoma State, and then Marcus goes to Duquesne. There's that foul in that last possession. When they went to Miami, Ohio, they signed with John Cooper. And John Cooper now on the staff with Tim Jankovic, a great basketball guy, been around a long time. But obviously they had a connection. They trust Coach Cooper. They end up back here, and it's really been a good situation. And it's been 2 ways. Good for the Weathers brothers, and certainly good for Tim Jankovic and SMU.
Griffin. Here's the highly talented freshman, Phelps. Weathers with the follow. Well, Marcus Weathers been coming off the bench lately, and it hasn't slowed him down.
Yeah, and so that is one of those that we talked about. Important for Tulsa was shot selection. And you love Griffin taking shots. It was a little early. You can get that anytime you want. If you're Griffin, he leaves it short. And so the long rebound basically led SMU into their transition offense. And that's why they're currently on a 9-0 run over the last minute and a half. And it can happen fast when you play the Mustangs.
SMU 8 of 10 now from the free throw line. Tulsa's gotten there just once. Dowu inside. Ray Dowu with his second field goal.
I love that each field goal went over both shoulders. First one early over the right shoulder, over the left. And hopefully that kind of gets the lid off the basket for him.
Zurich Phelps. Turned over. SMU's 5th turnover of the game.
But you get even on that possession right there, right? Tulsa gets back in transition off the Dowu make, gets that defense established, and if they could just get set up, as I said, do a pretty good job of containment, and that's what you have to do against all good ball clubs. And right there, they get SMU into the half court and takes them a little bit out of their rhythm.
Tulsa leading scorer Jariah Horn back into the game. Picked up a couple of fouls 8 minutes into the game. Had to sit for a while, but they trust the veteran not to pick up another here. Wave off the basket. Foul on the floor, and Tristan Clark took the contact.
Pretty good ball movement. You know, sometimes it just takes just a little bit of help. You get Clark to start to rotate over on Pritchard. Algo right there. And if you follow Tulsa, and Dalger, a JUCO transfer, and I can relate, I was one. The ability's there, but it takes a few games just to kind of get into some flow. And Dalger's starting to do that. There's been very little hesitation the last 3 or 4 ball games in his decision making. He caught right there and attacked immediately.
Season highs of 12 and 13 points over the last 2 games for Tim Dalger. Here's Pritchard driving inside to the basket.
That's pretty good right there.
Nuttall off the fake, nearly banked it in, hit a couple of threes early on in this game, and wrestling on the floor. Out of bounds, SMU had it laying over the baseline.
Now here's the freshman from Tulsa Webster right here. This is a guy that doesn't get overly concerned. And psyched you out right there. We're going to show Pritchard, but he's got 7 early points, and you have him 3 different ways. You have the 3, the mid-range, and then he got to the rim that last possession.
Pretty move inside from Sam Griffin.
Well, you have to get out there on the 3 because Griffin can flat out shoot it. He's made 5 threes the last 2 ball games.
Getting defensive in transition. Too strong from Pritchard.
And Young, that's why you don't ever give up on a play. Jamar Young right there, just going to contest on Pritchard and spooked him just enough to miss that bunny.
Davis knocks it down.
Yeah, and right there, Griffin over helps. And you leave Davis in the recognition of SMU to move it quickly. Davis having that space to knock down that 3.
Davis had 22 points, 10 assists in SMU's narrow victory in this building last February. They were supposed to play down in Dallas in the final regular season game, but SMU had their final 7 of the regular season wiped out last year.
As we mentioned, Tulsa hasn't played in 13 days. SMU has not played in 10. You worry about how sharp you're going to be, particularly offensively. And for the most part, both these teams have had some pretty nice stretches in terms of flow offensively. Actually, some pretty basketball at times.
1 of 2 trip to the line for the 3rd-year player, Jamar Young Jr. Horn, no good from 3. Tulsa now 2 of 6 from outside as Davis fires away.
I'm telling you, when you want Horn and Griffin taking the bulk of your shots, but Horn can get that at any part of the 30-second shot clock, a contested 3, and he can make those. But you see Davis right there. I mean, he's able to get in rhythm on a 3 even when you're back in transition.
Crowd wanted goaltending there. They didn't think it was out of the cylinder yet. I think Coach Frank Haith agreed. Young. Griffin will push. Up ahead, Jackson for 2. Davis gets the up fake.
Here's off the turnover again. Tulsa, don't force those. That's 7 for SMU here in this first half. Excellent break. Nice job of Griffin leading it. There's Jackson filling a good lane on that left-hand side.
No one in the nation has made more free throws this season than that man, Kendrick Davis, and he shoots it at 88% when he gets there. His evolution as a leader has been impressive to watch. Coach Jankovic talked about how he's helped along so many players, how he's mentoring the youngsters. Zurich Phelps, highly talented player out of Midland, Texas, is Duncanville High School transferred to, but for Davis, undoubtedly the leader, and as you mentioned earlier, how he's handled and welcomed in and made all these pieces fit that transferred in this year.
He plays the right way. It's amazing his scoring ability, playmaking ability, but he gets everybody involved.
Nearly tipped in, but getting his own rebound. Todorovic draws the foul.
Todorovic may get a little bit more run. He's been playing some spot minutes, freshman. But with JC being out, you love to see that, especially from your young players. When you're in there, go make an impact. Great job of following the ball right there, getting the offensive rebound and getting himself in this situation.
Stefan Todorovic, freshman from Serbia, who goes 6'8". Played for the Serbian national team U19 level at the FIBA World Cup in Latvia last summer.
You know, a lot of seniors on this ball club, but there's some young guys that they really like. Todorovic being one of those. Phelps, you mentioned, and obviously Jalen Smith, kind of a guy that, I mean, Tim Jankovic is trying to find as many minutes as he can for him because he makes so many positive plays. And it's great because those guys don't have to carry the load. These older guys can do that and help prep them over the next couple of years of taking over those leadership situations.
Dalger takes the contact. Tipped around there. Smith with the rebound. They've been impressed with the way that this freshman has adapted. Todorovic. Loose ball foul against SMU. Another look at the foul.
Get a push in the back. Little push off. Maybe a little help from Dalger falling right there. A little active.
Follow is there. Darian Jackson.
That's a big bucket because as we came out of the under 4 immediate timeout, it was a 4-point game, and SMU had extended it to 9. Also really needs to have a clean finish to the half. They don't want this thing to be above 10. They'd like to get a couple of stops, a couple of good offensive possession, and get this back to a 1 or 2 possession game by half.
In rhythm 3 for Davis.
I mean, that's just a guy making a great play. That was not poorly defended by Pritchard.
Season high 33 in the win at New Mexico in their last game. Coach Jankovic said, "I've never seen his confidence higher than it is right now."
Well, that's scary if you're in the American Conference.
Pritchard.
Overs he had in those two games, playing at a fast pace and being 75% of the decision making on the offensive end, he turned it over no time. 0.
It's the best number of times in his role. He tested the NBA waters, but on July 7th withdrew from the NBA draft pool, announcing he would return. Bandumel and 42 to Loyola Marymount. Pritchard. A runner from the baseline. Tipped up by Jackson, nearly went home. 8 SMU turnovers, but nothing really to be alarmed about. Four different Tulsa players with 2 fouls, including their leading scorer right here, Jariah Horn. Loose ball controlled by Agunane.
And Horn has to stay away from that third quick in the second half in terms of fouls. And he has to be on the floor. He's got to be in a situation from a foul trouble perspective that he can play his game.
The three continues, no cooling off as Jalen Smith knocks it down. He's 8 of 13 from distance over the last 4 games.
Boy, Smith, a really good-looking freshman. I mean, athletic, but obviously can shoot it. His first start at UNLV 5 games ago, I mean, he made 3 threes. He's a guy that plays with a high level of confidence as a youngster.
Count it, and the foul. Gallagher draws it, and you were alluding to Frank Haith and his team wanting to get to the free throw line more often, and it's just about absorbing that contact. Gallagher, chance for a 3-point play.
Now here it is. See the space, no hesitation. I mean, right at the chest. Agunane, exactly what you want to do. This is not.
Quickly at the other end, and Zach Nuttall. Easy two-handed slam.
And Frank Haith off the free throw attempt, able to set up something full court. You make something happen. You don't protect the back end. It's unfortunate for Tulsa.
Pritchard scoring at an unusually high rate for him. Normally he's all about facilitating, but 9 points so far for Anthony Pritchard.
Yeah, plays with a ton of confidence, Pritchard does. And I think he's looking at this, the competitor that he is, as an opportunity to go against one of the elite players in the country. This is how quickly they could advance. See right there? I mean, Tulsa's slow to get back. Great job of moving the ball to the floor with the pass, but unacceptable, I know, for Frank Haith.
Nuttall might be a newcomer, but the chemistry goes way back with Kendrick Davis. Those two played together once upon a time before they entered the college ranks, and a fall away for Davis is good, but that was a big factor in Nuttall coming to SMU, was that relationship he already had with Davis. Griffin. Weathers inside for 2 more.
So the thing that is difficult, Bandumel and Nuttall, obviously along with Davis, those are your 3 elite 3-point shooters for SMU, but Nuttall and Bandumel have a good first step. So if the closeout is poor, they can go off and create.
Jariah Horn, 6 points now for the Golden Hurricane. Their leading scorer, though, at over 17 per game.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, he's had a great year, throwing 8 rebounds, 43% from 3. And you see the importance of him staying out of foul trouble. He was only able to play 9 minutes in the first half.
Bandumel, catch and shoot three, and the veteran Emmanuel Bandumel, 5 games this year with 13 or more points, and he's had 3 or more three-pointers in all of those. He's got 3 triples tonight.
And he's really what college basketball should be about. A good player that has improved overall every single year for SMU.
Again, he's feeling it right now as he stares down
to the SMU bench.
Nuttall for 3. Weathers never really had control of that basketball to be called a travel. Davis. Tulsa pushes. Jackson. Will stay with the Golden Hurricane.
Boy, great recovery by Jackson on that last possession. Almost had the steal, didn't get it. Also was able to help just enough so Jackson could get back on Davis. And that's a tough assignment. It takes a lot of energy. Frank Hay puts Pritchard back in. Gives Jackson a little bit of a rest right here.
Official Gerald Williams issued a flop warning, too, to Kendrick Davis. And that three-pointer he took right towards the end of the shot clock. Idowu going to work. Got it.
He's starting to look more like Ray Idowu, isn't he? He's finishing in there, confident. And it's crazy, even though he's a guy that takes shots in the paint, it's just like a perimeter shooter who has struggled. Sometimes it just takes 1 or 2 of those for you to physically see go in, and then the lid is now taken off the basket. He's been really good for Tulsa tonight.
Bit of an offensive run the last 2 games. They wanted him to get going, and he has. Offensive rebound, again, for the man who made his first start tonight, Agunane.
Not what you want right there. Miscommunication. He makes you pay. You can see it develop right there. Idowu's got to show and let Pritchard get back. And there was confusion. You knew when you saw the confusion that Davis was going to go to work from long range.
He's got 26 tonight, 4 three-pointers. Extra pass, Pritchard left open, knocks it down. The freshman Anthony Pritchard had 1 3 on the season coming into the night, and now he's got his second. Michael Weathers on the drive. It's a block. Nearly got the and one. Only the second team foul on Tulsa in the second half, and Weathers feeling hard crash to the floor.
When you guard Weathers, and you know he's going to drive it. So Embry Simpson has got to get a bigger cushion than what he had. And then once he turned the corner, Idowu sees it. See, it's a blow-by right there. But maybe just moving slightly at the end. Let's take a look. And I also think that, no question, great call by Randy Heimerman, but left heel was most likely on the restricted arc area right there. You know, late in shot clock situations, you got to understand personnel. You know, that's Nuttall, or Bandumel, or even Davis, you got to extend out. But when it's Weathers, you get back and you can live with a mid-range jumper from him.
5 points, 2 assists tonight for Michael Weathers. Zoric Phelps back into the game. optimistic pass for Tulsa, and it results in a turnover and heavy collisions on both ends of the floor now as Phelps, the freshman, went up for it against Tulsa's Tim Dowger.
Yeah, and I think what happened is Phelps is first to get there. Boom, and that's why. And obviously the crowd, and I think Tulsa's bench, their first reaction, it was a bang-bang play, but the correct call. Phelps first to get there, and Dowger just a little bit late. So just a bad break for Tulsa, and not a great decision from Pritchard.
Horn knew the pass was coming and got the hands up.
Great D right there. With no space. Vandemel forcing it himself right there in that possession.
Griffin's three no good. Long rebound. Pritchard got a career high 12 points tonight. Tulsa screaming for a foul. Clark up and under against two defenders. He also wanted the foul. Tristan Clark for two.
Yeah, Tulsa had trouble matching up there and communicating. And Clark did a nice job. He found a window to make himself available on that back end.
Dowger got the handle back. Second chance is good.
Boy, great job, Dowger right there, taking it up against the bigger Tristan Clark. Second effort, absorbed contact, still able to get it to go.
Junior college All-American a year ago at Independence Community College up in Kansas. Averaged 18.5 in his 2 seasons there and 8 rebounds. No good on the three for Jalen Smith. SMU severely cooling off here, especially from outside. Turnover.
This is a 10-point game or more, and then that guy right there, Kendrick Davis, one of the elite closers in the country, a guy that Tim Jacobich can hand it to manage possessions. So this next 3 minutes is huge for Tulsa in terms of giving themselves a chance down the stretch.
Half-court defense has been really good from the Golden Hurricane after that initial stretch to start the half. And they've really bunkled down. Davis swatted away. Did he beat the shot clock? He did. Tulsa secures the board. Good defending, though, from Griffin.
And good help from Jackson coming over, knowing that Davis was going to have to take that shot as the shot clock was winding down.
Sam Griffin falling away. Got it.
One of the things I like about Griffin is he doesn't just fall in love with the three. I mean, he did a good job of working his way there in the paint and using that mid-range game.
Vandemel underneath, and the pass from Davis will go to the line.
And that's the thing when you have Kendrick Davis. Sometimes it may look like you don't have anything. And if the defense away from the ball gets caught ball watching Davis, he'll find a cutter. He's a great guy to play off of. And if anybody knows about point guard play, that's Tim Jacobich.
He said they wanted Vandemel to get to the free throw line more. More than half his shots taken from outside the arc. And as he's shown tonight, he can hit them, but they believe in his ability to drive to the basket as well.
Yeah, they're definitely been trying to get him to mix that in more, and that's nothing new. I mean, they were talking about it, I know, in the offseason this summer.
Mustangs 15 of 20 from the charity stripe thus far. Tulsa just 4 of 5. Open three for Griffin.
So good, so good. So SMU comes out in that 1-3 run, and you either got to get flat along the baseline or inside. They get it to Idowu, force the help, and that's a great extra pass.
Tulsa locking up defensively once more. Clock winding down. Another desperation three. Did Clark get it off? It's a crucial call because if so, there's a bucket. Tulsa pleading their case. Will play on, and the bucket counts. 7-point advantage for SMU. Griffin hangs in the lane, and that's tipped back up and in. Dalger.
Right there. Tell you what, it is crazy these games, how they end up being grinders late. 2-possession game, approaching the 4-minute mark. I mean, this is what conference is all about.
Smith realizes the shot clock winding down.
They did that. Got it down to a 2-possession game, and as we have also mentioned, now we got another American Conference grinder.
Wouldn't expect anything different from these two. This rivalry goes back over a century, but last year in this building, 65-63 win for SMU. Mustangs led by 12 with 3:10 to go before Tulsa cut it to 3 with 30 seconds left, missed a 3 in the closing seconds. Griffin heating up.
Yeah, he's so good off the pick and roll, because if you go over the top and you don't get a good hedge, there's the mid-range game. If you go behind, he can pop you for the 3. Very difficult to defend him in pick and roll.
Weathers 3, no good. Follow from his twin brother, Marcus, is good. Marcus Weathers, who came to the coaching staff and said, hey, if it'll help us win, I'll come off the bench. Offered to do that, has done so, hasn't slowed him down in double figures tonight.
Yeah, and that his great motor served him well right there.
Jackson to the rim.
You get a little swing for Tulsa, side to side, and Jackson able to rip and attack off the bounce.
Mr. Efficiency for Tulsa as Davis draws the foul.
There's the drive again we talked about late in games. But you see what Davis did at the last moment? Went to the side of Horn. And Horn picked his spot. And Davis is so good, has such great feel. I mean, that's a special player avoiding a charge like that. That's a good call.
Initially, Davis headed to the line. They said it was on the floor. Griffin intercepts off the long pass. Misses the contested layup. Davis didn't want to foul. Idowu going to work inside. Michael Weathers came to help defensively after Marcus had lost his footing. Tulsa ball after 2 quick threes here by SMU.
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit sloppy for both teams, to be honest with you. You have to wonder if you go back to Griffin's missed bunny off the steal. And remember, because of COVID shutting down games for Tulsa, these guys didn't come back to the 26th. They've only been here a couple days, and now all of a sudden they're thrown into a high level college basketball game. You wonder about fatigue a little bit for both these teams.
SMU 4 of 16 from beyond the arc in the second half after shooting 7 of 14 in the first, and a turnover for the Golden Hurricane, just their 9th of the game.
I tell you what, if you're Tulsa, you look at the missed layup, you look at things like that, and they're so magnified, those mistakes, those
down 10 to Louisiana Monroe with under 6 to go. Down 12 to Vandy. And they've also blown some big leads to make it close down the stretch. They'll work some clock here. Weathers had it stripped away by Jackson.
Well, Jackson, really a great job there. Idowu has got to get back quicker when he helps. When he helps on Davis, as soon as he knows his teammates is good, he's got to get back so Tulsa can get real rematched up.
Nuttall will inbound, 2 to shoot. Weathers, that pass was intended for Davis, I think. Another offensive board for Weathers, misses the putback, a minute to go.
Tulsa right here, plenty of time. No matter what, Frank Haith wants to get something started downhill first.
Looking for the quick basket. Griffin can't get it to go. Idowu for the rebound, and he's called for the foul. And Idowu is fouled out. It's a 1-on-1 situation coming.
Well, Frank Haith, I think, will leave tonight's game feeling pretty good about Ray Idowu. He played with great intensity. He was active at both ends of the floor, finished inside when he had those opportunities.
Strong on the front ends, and Horn's got the rebound.
And the same thing applies here. Griffin was able to get downhill. And I wouldn't be afraid to do the same. Plenty of time left.
Griffin pulls up, partially blocked. Weathers stripped momentarily, but gets it back, and he'll go right back to the free throw line. Still 1-1.
Again, both teams are in this situation, but you can tell Griffin doesn't have the lift that he typically does, even late in games. You saw it right there. Unfortunately, a lot of these teams coming out of Christmas, especially with some of the shutdowns, are dealing with the same thing. SMU as well. Been a little bit sloppy for both teams here late. Not as clean as it typically would be.
73% on the year, but 2 of 4 tonight is Weathers, and Tulsa still has life. Griffin's played 36 minutes tonight. Jackson poked it 1 year at Miami of Ohio. Went to Oklahoma State. 2 seasons, including the transfer redshirt. 2 at Texas Southern, and now in his first year with SMU.
Big one right there from Weathers.
Each team with 1 timeout remaining. Tulsa needs a quick one. Horn, a runner, and it's a charge. And that will just about do it with 3.6 remaining. As Horn argues his case.
Well, you get the 2 free throws first and foremost, and then SMU just does a great job extending out, not allowing any space, nothing easy for Tulsa. That allows them to seal